my lords. Today we're going to explore 5 megastructures that could very well be added to our galaxy in the future. I will cover what these could be, how they work, what they do, and finally give my opinion on how likely it is that we may see them in the future. I'll begin with some habitat-focused structures first, and we'll start with the Shellworld. The Shellworld is essentially if you were to stack lots of planets on top of one another, a bit like if you imagined an onion in space. Picture for me, if you will, a planet completely encased with multiple artificial layers, each one suspended above the other, forming a distinct habitable zone stacked around a central core. At its heart, a Shellworld would typically harbour a planetary body or a powerful energy source, like a star. This would serve as the gravitational and energetic anchor for all of the layers built around it. Each of these shells is carefully engineered with its own climate, environment and ecosystems, which would be optimised for habitation, agriculture, recreation or research, whatever the society needs. The sheer scale would clearly be astounding, and shells could stretch tens of thousands of kilometres across. Each would be capable of housing billions of humans comfortably. And of course, if you fill it up, you could simply build another layer on top. If we use Earth as an example, a size 18 planet, it has a circumference of just over 40,000 kilometers. Thus, every time we built an additional layer on top, we could get larger and larger, allowing us to house more and more people. But why would we build something so grandiose? Well, if you consider some of the problems that we may face, overpopulation and ecological collapse of our original planet, Shellworlds would offer a brilliant solution by maximizing the available surface area exponentially compared to a traditional planetary colonization. They would allow us to efficiently utilize stellar energy and recycle resources between the layers, essentially creating a self-contained world stacked upon one another. It's important to remember that the shells themselves, or the layers, are not merely layers of rock and steel. They would integrate technological systems for climate control, such as recycling the heat from one layer to another. Imagine living on the inner shell, but you don't look up at the night sky, but another thriving world above you, illuminated by a carefully regulated artificial light that would mimic the warmth and brightness of another star. Transport between these layers would be fascinating. Would we go with vast elevators, shuttlecraft, or even some sort of magnetic levitation system? Given the size of these things, different societies may evolve on different layers completely distinctly, yet would have to remain somewhat interconnected through trade, diplomacy, and shared infrastructure. Would we see a Piltover and Zorn scenario, for example? From a strategic standpoint, Shellworlds would provide defensive advantages as well. Their layered design would make them incredibly resilient against any external threat. Each shell would act as a defensive barrier equipped with sensors, weaponry and shield technologies that could withstand immense punishment before the inner habitats were ever endangered. Indeed, the outer layer could be entirely defensive. Imagine Earth, if you will, completely covered with Mac cannons and defensive lasers. Is it likely that we could see these introduced into our galaxy in the future? I'm frankly unsure. We do already have access to an Ecumenopolis, which is of a similar theme, but much smaller. Perhaps, if there is ever a need to house more people than an Ecumenopolis allows, then it could be possible. And it would make for, in my opinion, a fantastic addition to the Remnant's origin, making them that much more distinct than a regular empire, and also partially explaining why it was so difficult to eradicate them in the first place. For me, it's something I'd love to see, maybe as a hyper late game research option, in addition to an Ecumenopolis. Will we see it? I'm not sure, but I'd love to. Next we have a second habitation megastructure. This one is truly insane, the Alderson Disk. Think of, if you will, for me please, a gigantic disk, with a star positioned precisely at its centre, casting perpetual daylight on one side and eternal night on the other. This immense disk would span billions of kilometres, providing an unimaginably large surface area, many million times greater than Earth's own surface. and this would be available for habitation, agriculture, industry, recreation, whatever the society who built it truly wanted. Constructing one of these would of course require a civilization to have remarkable engineering prowess and vast resources, greater than anything that we've seen in our galaxy to date. This disk must withstand immense gravitational forces and radiation from the central star, which would necessitate materials and technologies far beyond what we are currently capable of. But the benefits of building such a structure would be staggering. The sheer amount of living space provided by an Alderson Disk could comfortably accommodate trillions of beings, with each region designed to have distinct climates and ecosystems. With the central star acting as a constant and reliable energy source, the civilization inhabiting the disk could effectively harness nearly unlimited solar power, which would ensure sustainable energy for millions of years. Think Ringworld, but much, much bigger. Perhaps the biggest hurdle to overcome when considering one of these structures is that building one would require an amount of material that would far surpass the amount of material found in a single solar system. We would have to harvest multiple planets and potentially multiple stars to even consider building one of these. In its final form, it would need to have more mass than the Sun in its center. But in completing one of these, it would be more than a simple engineering feat. It would symbolize the pinnacle of a civilization's ambition and ability to reshape their cosmic destiny. It would be a visionary testament to what intelligent life could achieve when it looks beyond the confines of individual planets, or even somewhat simple megastructures such as a ringworld or a science nexus. My thoughts regarding this megastructure are similar in theme to the Shellworld we just discussed. I can absolutely see a world where this fits for a remnant-style origin, maybe one cut off from a regular star cluster. They must expand and grow out their Alderson Disk before eventually learning how to reconnect the hyperlanes and re-establish contact once again with the wider galaxy. I do feel that this one is less likely to happen due to its sheer size and engineering requirements, but it would be very cool to at least see it as part of a remnant's origin. We shall see. Now I have two megastructures that, rather focusing on colossal habitats, produce resource. The first is the Black Hole Forge. Picture, if you will, a colossal factory sitting on the edge of a gravitational abyss, turning raw energy and matter into weapons, machines, or even parts of other megastructures. That is what I envision when I discuss the Black Hole Forge. This megastructure would leverage the immense gravitational and energetic properties of a black hole to manufacture the highest quality material known to the galaxy. At its core, a black hole forge would revolve around a carefully controlled black hole, typically a small or perhaps even an artificially stabilized one. This cosmic engine would operate by manipulating the black hole's accretion disk, the spiraling mass of matter orbiting and gradually descending into it. Immense gravitational forces and high energy radiation emitted from this disk can be harnessed for numerous purposes, including the synthesis of rare materials and the generation of near limitless energy. This black hole forge would essentially become a colossal factory, capable of synthesizing exotic matter and rare elements that may be unobtainable through traditional means. The intense pressure and heat within the accretion disk could enable nuclear reactions that form elements far heavier and rarer than those produced in stars or other stellar events. We could also make this megastructure self-sustaining by harnessing phenomena such as Hawking radiation or energy emitted from falling matter into the black hole. This megastructure would be able to sustain itself, and likely everything else in the star system, if we so required. This megastructure is one that I firmly believe that we could see introduced into our galaxy one day, rather than the matter decompressor which we currently have access to and generates from black holes minerals. I think we could see an upgraded or uprated version of this, which would reshape the minerals produced directly into alloys, and perhaps we could even incorporate a mega shipyard to funnel these alloys straight into military vessels. It feels like this is the sort of thing that should absolutely be a bolt-on to the matter decompressor. Why do we ship the vast quantities of minerals somewhere else in the galaxy to turn them into alloys, to then ship them somewhere else to turn them into ships or the frames for buildings and the like? I'd love to see an upgrade to the matter decompressor, which represents this black hole forge. Furthermore, this is the sort of structure that could unlock other larger megastructures like the Shellworld we discussed earlier, for it would be here that the colossal frames would need to be built. I believe that this one is a real possibility for the future of our galaxy. The second resource producing megastructure to discuss is the Matrioshka Brain. This one makes the science nexus look very basic indeed. The Matrioshka Brain is a hypothetical megastructure designed to harness the energy of an entire star to power a vast, star-enveloping computer, which in theory would be capable of unimaginable intelligence and computational ability. At its heart, a Matrioshka Brain is essentially a large collection of Dyson spheres nested within one another, similar to the Russian Matryoshka dolls. Each sphere would be composed of countless interconnected computers and energy collectors, which would be arranged around this central star. The innermost layer would be designed to capture the intense radiation output of the star directly, converting this stellar energy into computational power. The excess heat that would radiate outward to the successive layers would be captured and optimized for different thermal and computational tasks. The idea behind this is that you would use this computational power to create a sentient AI, and it would have access to a huge array of computing power. Imagine, if you will, a mind capable of simulating an entire universe, solving complex cosmic mysteries, or even predicting the future with astonishing accuracy. A Matryoshka Brain could enable civilizations to run elaborate virtual realities indistinguishable from actual universes, offering virtually infinite experience and knowledge to its creators. This is another megastructure that I can see one day existing in our universe, perhaps as a late-game research option available, say, a century after construction of a science nexus. I do think, since they slowed technology progression down, that they could add a Tier 6 beyond even archaeotech, and perhaps these weapons would only be accessible to empires who've constructed these hyper-advanced megastructures, like the Black Hole Forge, or in this case, the Matryoshka Brain to research it. I can certainly see a world where you would need a Matryoshka Brain to research it and a Black Hole Forge to create it. It seems to make sense to me. So we've got one megastructure left to discuss, and I made sure that this was a giant space gun, because I didn't want to leave them out. But no, it's not something so pedestrian as a Nikolai Dyson beam, a gun that uses stars to blow up planets. This is called a Graviton Compression Cannon, and it fires artificial gravity wells, or temporary micro black holes. This would clearly be a devastatingly powerful device, and it would be designed to harness gravitational forces to collapse matter into extreme densities, resulting in catastrophic destruction at the target point. As you will find out shortly, catastrophic destruction is somewhat of an understatement here. So, imagine for me, if you will, a space station, 20 kilometers across, drifting silently in the dark vacuum of space, its hull rippling with energy conduits and gravitational stabilizers, humming gently, like its own mechanical heartbeat. Within this station's core, immense reactors spin gravitational fields into tight, coherent streams of particles known as gravitons, the hypothetical particle that we believe could be responsible for gravity itself. This colossal space station, larger than Earth's moon, is in reality just a really big gun. As the weapon charges, gravitational fields within its firing chamber grow exponentially stronger, compressing these captured particles into hyperdense singularities, each no larger than a grain of sand and yet possessing a mass akin to asteroids. These microsingularities, enveloped in gravitational sheaths, will become the ammunition of unimaginable destructive potential. When this cannon fires, a surge of intense gravitational waves catapults these hyper-compressed singularities towards the target at fractions of the speed of light. Upon impact, the singularity's containment field would rupture violently, unleashing its stored gravitational energy upon the target. Matter around the impact point is simultaneously crushed inwards, drawn into a devastating implosion that would radiate gravitational shockwaves, rippling out in all directions. Ships, space stations, planets struck by this gravitational compression cannon would buckle and twist under impossible gravitational stress. Structures would collapse inward, metals would liquefy from sheer compression heat, and entire continents would fracture as the gravitational collapse propagates outward, like a stone dropped into a cosmic pond. What makes this weapon particularly feared is not just its sheer destructive force, but its lasting effects. Even after the initial blast would fade, the localized gravitational anomaly would remain, turning regions of space into dangerous, distorted fields of twisted space-time, an enduring testament to the horrifying capabilities of advanced gravitational technology. Furthermore, as an added bonus to the truly callous, remember when this projectile hits, it would create a hyperdense gravitational anomaly, similar to a black hole's event horizon. Now, time for anything caught within that gravity well would slow drastically compared to the outside observer. So we're talking about relativistic time dilation, where a second inside this field could be hours, days, or even longer outside, depending on the field strength. To someone watching the impact from a safe distance, the target may appear to freeze or move in an extreme slow motion, but from the perspective of the person or object at ground zero, they would experience their time as normal, except that everything outside would be speeding up like a time-lapse video on steroids. What I'm getting at is that if you fired this weapon at a planet, you could essentially watch its destruction in slow-mo. Conversely, the extreme gravitational shear could lead to temporal shearing, where different parts of an object, or even a person, experience time at different rates. For example, the side of a ship closest to the impact could be moving at 1 second per day, whereas the rear of the ship is still flowing normally. This would, of course, literally tear the object apart. And what about living beings? Well, they would go into an immediate cognitive and biological shock. Would parts of them age at dramatically different rates? Would you be able to watch your arms wither and die before you? Probably not, as you'd almost certainly be crushed under the weight of all the gravity. But it's a depressing bonus if you did manage to survive. Even more so when you realise the people who fired it at you are watching this happen in slow motion. To sum up, firing a Graviton compression cannon doesn't just crush the target with gravitational force. It could lock them in time, pulling them out of sync with the entire universe, or tearing them apart through relativistic time distortion. It's not just destruction, it's obliteration across both space and time. What a lovely way to bring pain upon your enemies. Will we ever get to build one of these in our galaxy? My head says probably not, but my heart believes that one day we will get access to an entire DLC called Megastructures, in which all of these colossal, wonderful devices will get added to our galaxy. A man can dream.